I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I can only imagine when all I will do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine when all I will do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine.
The family of Trevor Slot has asked some people to honor them and us with their remembrances of life with Trevor. Those include, in the order they will be coming before us, Robert Verheulen, the mayor of the city of Walker; Catherine Garcia Lindstrom, the director of public safety for the city of Walker; friend Kathy Vogel; friend and fellow officer Brandon Hugel; friends Jerry Klikotka, Mark Hendricks, Darren Klinker; friend Shane Saraki; and sister Erica Tanak. Yeah.
Kim, Caitlin, Abby, and the family of Officer Slot. On behalf of the people of Walker, I extend our deepest condolences. I wish I had the words that would in some way heal the pain you're experiencing or provide some rational reason for the senseless tragedy that has occurred in your lives. but the words do not exist that can explain what has happened or why you've been afflicted. I have heard repeatedly of your husband and father's love for his family, but he also chose a career in public service. This career choice reflected a love for the community he served so well. This community that he loved extends far beyond the Walker city limits. One can see this greater community as reflected by the police officers and the mourners present today from far and from near. In the book of John, the 15th chapter, verse 13, it reads, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." Officer Slot exhibited this greatest love, this greatest act of love for us, his community. And we mourn and grieve over the loss of such a man. To every member of law enforcement here today, I know that civilians cannot share the depth of your loss, but as a representative of the civilians that you are sworn to protect, let me say this. The untimely and tragic death of Officer Trevor Slot reminds us once again of the debt we owe to each and every one of you. May God bless and protect you each day. To the family, we are deeply grieved that we could not return your loved one back to you in safety. We pray for divine comfort for each of you in this time of affliction. It is our solemn duty to never forget your family and the sacrifice made in protecting our values, our safety, and our way of life. May God bless each one of you.
Kim, Caitlin and Abby, devoted family members, co-workers, and friends of Trevor. There are no words that can be said that will ever fill the void that now exists in each and every one of us because of the loss of Trevor. Many people from numerous agencies and professions have worked very hard together to ensure that we give Trevor the hero's worship and honor that he so richly deserves. A couple of days ago, I went through Trevor's personnel file. I had to do that in order to retrieve a piece of information the family needed. In his file, I came across a letter written by former Chief of Police from Lowell, Jim Valentine. That particular letter was copied to our agency. It was written to Trevor when he left Lowell to come to work for Walker. Upon reading it, I realized that many of the words used to describe Trevor would apply today. So with his permission, I have used some of those comments Chief Valentine used in his exit interview with Trevor as part of our tribute today. Those of us from Walker, Lowell, Lake Odessa, and St. Joseph Police Departments know what an honor it is to be able to say we worked with him. We valued his abilities as a police officer and his friendship. One special thing that stood out about Trevor, he was never bashful and letting his own unique personality enter into the mix. But he never belittled people, nor mimicked them. Instead, he was always genuine and sincere and approachable. It was not unusual for him to interject his sense of humor as a means of diffusing a tense situation. But Trevor never distanced himself from the community he served. He was always accessible and friendly to everyone, as you heard earlier today. Everyone he came in contact with, the good, the bad, and the ugly of society. Trevor was not one to complain about last-minute changes in his schedule or to grumble about anything or anyone. He was someone you could count on to lift your spirits if you were down or put a smile on your face with his many Trevorisms, such as, "Shut your pie hole." He was truly a special person. So, as we join together to say farewell to our friend, let me say, we'll miss you, Trevor. Thank you for the opportunity to serve with you, and to your family for sharing with us.
Many of you know me simply as Kim's friend, but what you may not know is that Trevor was also one of my closest friends. Just the other night, I was trying to explain to Kim what I would say today, and she sat there looking at me, and then she'd say, "No, you can't share that story." And at the end of my ramblings, she said, "That was 40 minutes, you only have 4 minutes." I'm very thankful for every trip that my husband, Brian, and I took with the Slots over the last 10 years. Kim was a good sport as she traveled with us and spent time watching the Detroit Tigers, the Chicago Cubs, U of M basketball, and most importantly, the University of Michigan football team. And thankfully, we were able to spend time with Kim and Trevor as the University of Michigan beat Notre Dame. Traveling with the Slots always assured me a Diet Coke from McDonald's because Brian did not mind stopping to get Trevor his daily dose of McDonald's pop. Speaking of McDonald's pop, Kim had to finally put her feet down and ban Trevor from making multiple trips to McDonald's. As far as Kim knew, Trevor was working hard to follow these directions. It wasn't until one day I asked her to take me through the drive-thru for a pop, she discovered the truth. The car in front of us looked awfully familiar. Trevor was busted. Of course, his last words to me that day, as most days were, "Vogel, I'm going to kick your butt." My 15th wedding anniversary turned out to be one of the most memorable ones. Unbelievably, I didn't even spend it with my husband, as he was off in Chicago watching the Cubs. Kim and Trevor took me to the casino in Detroit, and we laughed the entire time. The next morning, Trevor took us to our annual U of M Women's Football Academy. Let's say we took a very long way from Detroit to Ann Arbor, which almost cost us the chance to hear Lloyd Carr speak. Kim had the driving directions, and Trevor was having none of that. Somehow, after taking Trevor's long about route, we finally made it to camp on time. Trevor simply had one final job that day. We told Trevor to meet us at the football tunnel and to have the camera ready because we planned to run out of the tunnel with Lloyd Carr. And after 14 years of stalking Lloyd Carr, I was finally going to get my picture. Soon Lloyd Carr arrived, and I knew I was finally going to get that picture. As we ran out of the tunnel, we could see Trevor snapping pictures. At the end of the day, as we drove home, I checked the camera. Sure, Trevor snapped some good shots, but the only thing you could see was the top of my head. His ride to and from football camp that day consisted of Kim letting him have it on the way there and me letting him have it on the way home. I'm sure that day ended with Vogel, I'm going to kick your butt. Brian and I are so fortunate to have so many memories, but the memories that stand out to me the most are the stories Trevor told proudly about his family, his fellow police officers, and how he openly shared his love and respect for Kim's parents. Let me leave you with my all-time fondest story. It's a story about what Trevor enjoyed doing the most when he wasn't working. Many of you may think it's a story about reading, but it isn't. While he enjoyed reading, Trevor spent most of his free time sitting on the floor in the middle of the living room playing Polly Pockets with Caitlin and Abby. Trevor was the greatest father, husband, friend, co-worker, dedicated servant, and coach. And finally, as many of you know, Trevor spent many hours watching ESPN. As an ESPN analyst once said, Trevor was as cool as the other side of the pillow.
Today is about honoring the life of Officer Trevor Slot, but for the members of the Walker Police Department, it is about honoring our friend Trevor. Before Trevor was hired at Walker, he was just a voice on the radio to me. I knew him only as Lowell 46-8. He quickly became a dear friend and a partner to all of us. Trevor was a dedicated police officer, but first and foremost, he was a loving husband to Kim and doting daddy to Caitlin and Abby. He was proud of his family and he bragged about them daily. His new job as a court officer gave him the chance to walk the girls to the bus stop and have dinner with his family every night. Trevor could have let his duties stop at the court officer responsibilities, but he never did. As soon as he was done with his work, Trevor was out on the road shagging calls and lending support to road patrol. None of us were surprised that Trevor left the safety of the court to lend assistance to officers who were in trouble. Most people don't understand that, but as police officers, that is just what we do. We are the crazy ones who face the danger head on to protect the innocent lives of the communities that we serve. It does not matter if your uniform is blue or brown. When one of our own is in trouble, we answer the call. I'm convinced that Trevor saved the lives of fellow police officers and citizens when he answered the call on October 13th and gave his ultimate sacrifice.